I'm good,
Okay,
Patrick.
great. Let me get this up here. Okay, can everybody see the screen?
Yep, see it just fine.
All right. Hey, what we want to do eventually later is during the networking piece of it, go through something similar to what we did last week, and we'll get to that. But what I've done is I attend a number of groups, and so I've actually stolen content from various groups, and I will give them their credit. But this is from a gentleman named Wes Roper, as you can see on the top of your screen. And he gave a great presentation on why do we network and what are the results from that. Well, I also went to another friend of mine, Catherine Byers-Breet. She talks every Tuesday and Thursday mornings about different job tips, job seeking tips. At 8 o'clock, our zebra spelled backwards.com live stream. And she has got some incredible tools that I wanted to share with you as well. I think what is important is that to know that this Silk Road Technology organization did a study, and they did a retrospective study of 13 million candidates, and what did they learn? 92% director and above were hired through networking, okay? Then you have different levels here directly on the company website is only 21%. You get through an outside recruiter, yeah, they're still effective, but I think what's amazing is if you go to Indeed or any of those other job boards and all you do is apply online, your chance of getting a job and being successful is really only 12%. So I think this 92% actually has some value to it that, you know, why do we waste our time? I shouldn't say waste our time, because you should put forth time in different websites to learn what openings there are, in addition to those unspoken openings, but then start to network into that company and then apply and network as well. And so hopefully you'll reach that 92% level, higher chance of getting hired. Okay, let me see. All right, so Wes Roper, back to his slide. He's actually been doing a study with various people in Executives in Motion, and he also does another presentation with job seekers with Crossroads. But he's done a study, and you know, what is the connection that got you to the hiring manager? And again, it's through networking. There's outside people that are outside of the company that you can network with, and then there's those that are inside the company. Okay, so inside the company, if you were getting a job and you were working for Acme company, just like the Roadrunner, you know, they're able to get a job inside the company, or they can get with outside. What's interesting is when I was working at Optum, I learned more from recruiters or from people like that were consultants that were trying to network with me. I learned more about our organization, which then in turn could network you back inside. But they're outside people, and they networked you and connected you inside the company. But again, I think it's pretty strongly said that, you know, outside people. Now, what's interesting is they say your friends, your immediate friends, it's pretty well known that, yeah, they're going to help you, but they're not as passionate about networking as people that are maybe their second level connections in LinkedIn, but they have a passion for helping people. And that's really where your success comes from. Let's take a look at, you know, the networking connections and see, you know, how do they get back past the network screen? And here, almost all of them are from, you know, networking. networking. Some, okay, and then few, obviously, no. But here it just kind of shows what the success is of getting past the hiring talent acquisition person to get to the hiring manager and get some interviews, whether it's an informational interview or a just a job interview too. How long is it taking to land these days? This is, again, this is the access of the URL that Wes Roper did to get up-to-date information on the study. But he found that, it's quite a long time. It's almost a year for C-level people to land a job. And then director, senior director below, and then individual contributors. So, yeah, it could be 4.6 months, but again, it's the fact of what is in the job market today and how successful are people and where they're landing and how long it takes. Then he asked the question to the people on the, I think there's 51 people who were interviewed. And, did you land your position with the help of a network? And of course, most of them are. Indirectly, anyway, so there, again, it just reiterates. How long was it posted before you went to apply? And it's important, I think, when you see a job that's open to go ahead and apply for it as soon as possible and then start your networking afterward. But again, this goes to show that, within a week, you got 49%, and that day you got, 2/3 of the hires were within that first week of applying. So it's always good to, be active and checking, your websites on what job openings there are so that you can identify a person in that organization with whom you network. Okay. So, there's a slide missing. Back to Catherine Breyer-Spree, what do people want to know about you in your networking? Okay. They want to know where you come from. What can you do from the company that is hiring you, or potentially could hire you? And how can you help them solve their problems? And in a networking discussion, really, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's that we should be listening more than talking. And it's important that, where are we coming from? How can we apply our past knowledge, or can we tell a story on how we, in the past, fixed a similar problem that they have right now? And so that's really important. And you want to build a rapport with somebody before, so you want to identify something in common with them. And again, it's important to set that. Okay, so what are some common places where people would have something in common? Can anybody add into that conversation?
Where you went to school.
Where you went to school, from your universities, anything else?
Former employers.
Former employers. Okay, add more. Churches.
Volunteer
School.
organizations.
Volunteer orgs, exactly. Hey, believe it or not, I have a personal story in that regard to a volunteer organization. I volunteered at a local medical, it was a regional medical center in the local community. And before I volunteered for 30 hours, they asked me if I could stand up their medical group practice because they were starting to employ physicians. And so, right place, right time, volunteered, made a good impression. And again, that volunteer connection is what led me to that job. So, valuable to know. And, reach out to people on your softball team if you're playing softball or hockey or whatever. And what's interesting is I had another, it happens to be an experience that my daughter had. She My one daughter graduated from the University of Minnesota. Her name's Nicole. And Nicole was invited to be the student speaker for the faculty for the College of Science and Technology at the University of Minnesota. And so we sat down, my wife and I were invited, we sat down next to these professors, and before you know it, my wife is talking to the professor beside her saying, oh yeah, I don't know, my other daughter, Michelle, she's looking for a job and she's learning educate. She's taking courses right now to major in education and secondary education. And so this professor that we had just met at the table said, oh, well, where is she looking to work? Well, she lives out in Maryland. And she went to the University of Maryland. She said, oh, you know, my sister works in DC at Lindemood Bell, which is an education organization for kids with special needs. And oh, by the way, they do happen to have another company of Lindemood Bell that's in the Twin Cities where we live. And so it kind of worked out that, you know, from this strange opportunity, we were able to help my daughter land a job. So you never know where these opportunities are going to come from, but always be ready with an open mind, lots of questions, and both your ears open to listen. And those will lead you to opportunities. And then later this evening, what we will do is go through what we'll actually go through the exercise that we touched base with last weekend. And I know that Alan's not on, but we're going to have to try to wing this here a little bit. But put together a spreadsheet, and it'll be very helpful. And if I could just transition to that, let me see what we can do. All right. No, that's not it. All right. All right. What this is a spreadsheet, and essentially what this is for networking on LinkedIn. Are people, I'm not sure who was on last week, but what I'm going to do is head out to LinkedIn and show you how we can work this a little bit. Okay, here it is. So let me go back to just the standard home screen. Okay. So now if we...
Hey, Patrick,
yes.
all we can see right now is your PowerPoint.
Really? Let me see. Okay, move this window away. Okay. I'm going to stop share and then I'm going to reshare. Okay. Let me see. Okay. All right. Can you see it now?
Perfect.
Okay. What I'm doing is I'm back at my my site here on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is probably the more powerful networking tool that exists out there. And of course, the more connections you have, the more opportunities you have for an open network. And you know, it's trying to leverage this tool as best as you can. Now, I'm connected to my brother, Mark. Okay, that would be a first connection. Now, Mark's friend works for some company, and he would be my second connection. So what we want to do is look at everyone who's in our first level area and try to tap into that first, and then we expand to the second level of connection for the next round. So what I want to do is I would invite people to open an additional LinkedIn, your own LinkedIn area, because what we're going to do is walk through this and connect into search, and you'll see all these tabs here, okay? What we want to do is hit on people, connect with that. Then how do we connect? How do we use our filters? We want to hit all filters. And what this does is open up a wide range of opportunities to search for our first and second level connections based on location. Okay, now with COVID, we've learned that location's not such a limiting factor as it used to be. And I heard some wisdom from from one of the talent acquisition consultants, is that if there's a position out of state and it says, are you willing to move? Click yes, because that will at least get you past the old way of doing business to the new way of doing business with COVID. And you might be able to work remotely, because I think more and more companies are open to that. So locations is another area. If you have connections of a person that you want to get to, you can plug that in. How about current companies? And that's when we ask our networkers that are, there's top 3 companies like to work. Okay, so we can plug that in, and okay, let's say Amazon. Let me plug that in, and I'm going to click apply. So it comes up are all these connections. Now we can help each other with our connections, but I've got so many connections here. Let me get it down to the first level. Oh, okay. So I have got 3 level connections that that are first degree, that I have the ability to introduce the networkers on this networking call that we're on right now. If you're looking for a position at Amazon, I can say, hey, I've got 3 first degrees at Amazon. And what we'll do, and I know Alan is not here yet, but what we would do is move that question of Patrick's, or let's say I'm looking for Patrick Sauer into the chat level, is looking for work at Amazon, UHG, and General Mills, let's just say. And as people flip over to their next, their alt tab and switch over to the LinkedIn connections that they have, and they go through the people and the filters, what it would do is say, okay, Pat Sauer, I've got 3 connections that work at Amazon. And then that I write into the chat box below my name, or whoever's turn it is, that name, put it under there. And what will happen is at the end of the evening, we'll get through everyone on the list, okay, who's participating in the networking call. But then it's the person whose name is at the top there will get you a copy of what people volunteered. And it's then your responsibility to connect with whomever and provide those connections. If I could share with you something here. Can you see my screen now? It's a spreadsheet.
Nope, just seeing the LinkedIn.
Just LinkedIn? Okay, let me go back out. Stop sharing again. And what I'm going to do is reshare. Okay, so what we would do is look at, these are the instructions that I'm kind of sharing with you right now. And essentially what we would do is we would want to back up, and this is in preparation for a networking meeting where we're all going to leverage our networks with LinkedIn to help other people in the group. And what we'd want to do is fill this in. For example, I did this with executives in Motion. In the registration of it, I put my name in, put my email, put where I worked right now. And where I worked right now is important not for me, but it's for other people in the group that can say, oh, I want to meet somebody that Patrick knows who worked at Optum. And then here are the positions I held. at Optum, okay? And then here's a little bit about myself and the broad functional expertise, looking for healthcare opportunities in hospitals and clinics. And then the titles that I'm looking for are here. And then if there's anyone specific or any companies that are specific. For example, I learned that Microsoft has Microsoft Health in the cloud, which is an innovative way to help disrupt the healthcare system. And so I was really focused on connecting with someone who knew Tom McGinnis at Microsoft Cloud, or Greg Moore, okay, or somebody else who works in artificial intelligence, Heather Jordan, okay. But now if I wanted to say, okay, that's just one opportunity. Well, let's say I wanted to meet someone at Fairview, Alina, or North Memorial. I would put their organizations in here or their names if I knew someone that worked there, but I didn't know, and I'd like an introduction from the people who I'm networking with right now. Those are the targets that we'd want to focus on for me, okay? Then we've got, you know, it's important too, I think, to know, is your search confidential? And we all need to say, you know, whatever happens in this venue stays in the venue, because if someone's looking for a position outside and gets out to their organization, it's not good for them. Okay, so we want to be able to support people in our group and have that trust that it's not going to get outside of that, unless, of course, we're introducing that person. Now, as a result of this networking, as we go down through all the names, here's what we would have, okay? Who? Patrick Sauer, me, okay? Here's what I want. Here's my action items from my network. And then I also want to identify who's my accountability partner. In this case, it's Alan Hill. I'll meet with him in 4 days from today. But anyway, as we go through this, okay, Kyle Harris has a connection for me, okay? Wes Roper has connections at Medica, UCare, and hospital systems as examples. Kyle Harris has second degrees at all. Schuster has second degrees at Alina Health. And there's some at Medica and Rally Health. So do you see that? And what we're doing is, as each of us makes a comment in the chat bar, it automatically attaches your from and your name. And all you really have to do is plug in seconds to all, or possibly at UCare, okay? Seconds at Medica, okay? It's just, what's a second again? We go back to LinkedIn, and that's what the seconds are, okay? Second degree connections. Now, okay, so now I got my list. Now what? Shoot, I gotta tell Alan and answer in 4 days that I connected with all these people, or at least drafted something. Okay, so let me take Mark Schuster right here, and I'm not sure. Is that easier to see? Let me take Mark Schuster, who's got second degree. No, let's do this. Kyle Harris, who's got first degree connections at Medica, where that's one of my targets. So what I do is I develop an introductory paragraph. And remember when we went back, try to find those common connections? If I wanted to meet Joe Schmo at Medica, I would look up Joe Schmo either anonymously or, you know, openly on LinkedIn, and scroll through, read about what they do, what are their interests. Are there anything that helps me connect with that person, Joe Schmo? Well, let's try to help Kyle Harris. Kyle Harris essentially offered to help connect me with someone in his first degree network at Medica. Well, I don't want to just leave them hanging. So what I wanted to do is give a sample introductory paragraph. And it would say, okay, hike. Now this is a paragraph to Joe Schmo. It would be, hey, Joe Schmo, I hope all is well with you in this COVID environment and everyone's you and your family are healthy. So, and then you want to say something if he plays hockey, saying, yeah, it would be great to, you know, run into you somewhere at a hockey rink since my child is a rink rat as well. Please allow me to introduce you to Patrick. Patrick is a health industry thought. Okay, so there's my paragraph that I gave. And then I request 20 minutes to explore innovative opportunities that move the needle toward our future of affordable healthcare system. And here's my contact information. Is that somebody you would be willing to connect with? And, you know, I'm going to say 95 to 99% of the time, you'll never get turned down, because that is an introduction to this person's network. And who knows when, you know, Chris is going to, or Kyle's going to need help. And, you know, either the person with whom I'm trying to network at Medica can help Kyle, or the person at Medica loses their position and Kyle and I can help that person. So, you know, it's all paid it forward. So that's what we wanted to do. But again, I offer this as an introductory paragraph and write it in the third person so that it makes it easy for Kyle to make that introduction to the Medica first degree connection. Does that make sense? Any questions in that regard? Okay.
So Patrick, this is really, really good stuff. And I like how it's laid out, and even that spreadsheet. Super organized. And when I look back at my own transition, even just a sample paragraph that you gave to people is a big, big help.
Yeah, and again, if we're asking somebody to do us a favor and introduce us to someone, let's make it as easy as possible for them, okay? And you know, you'll run into certain issues, like for example, I was looking for introduction and I was going through a friend of mine who actually, he and I were dorm, we lived together in the dorms our senior year. Well, it was a house senior year at college. And I said, hey, I want to meet this person. And he's actually a second degree connection, but this guy knew everybody. And so I gave him that paragraph. He says, we'll try to do that. But the interesting part is the person between my friend and the person with whom I wanted to connect was one person who happened to be his ex-brother-in-law. So there were some other family issues that happened in there. But anyway, so you'll run into some of those issues, but usually that's not the rule. That's the exception. But again, if you want to go back to, let's take a look. Let's see. Can we, is Alan on yet?
No, I don't see him yet.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good time to volunteer him for stuff.
Yeah. So Michael, tell me a company that you would like connections with. Or let me back up a little bit. These are current companies where they're working. People in past companies that might have some insights on, you know, what's the company like, what's the culture like, and then also if you have a person that you wanted to connect with, you can put their name in here. So I would say in your preparation for a meeting like this, and I know Alan is he's all on board with trying to do this next, to initiate this now. so that we have a networking breakout session. But in preparation for that, what you'll want to do is, you know, have your 3 companies or have your 3 names of people or a combination of both. So let me ask you, Michael, is there a company you would like to have connections in?
Sure. Let's go with Best Buy.
Best Buy. Yeah, first thing you do is you gotta have to spell it correctly. Best Buy. Okay. Now, this is a good point here. Is part of your preparation before coming to the meeting to network is to know which Best Buy you want. Because there could be a ton of Best Buys. Mexico, okay, well, it's pretty obvious here. But there are some organizations that are manufacturing that there's multiple names of the same name, but locations are different, or there's a slight variance in the name. So know which company you want to get connections in by knowing what those variances are. So what we'll do is plug in Best Buy, and we'll put apply. And let's see, connections. Are you pretty well, my wife, are you well looking at physically working in the Twin Cities? Or are you looking elsewhere? Okay, so let's do that. And we can apply that and even narrow down the network connections even more. So I would put in there under Michael's name, who's, you know, he's got the floor on the chat, okay? I would put in there that I have 4 first-degree connections Best Buy. So any other examples? Anyone else that would be interested in throwing something in there? Okay. So you go back out, hit all the filters. And what I would do then is, you know, if we look at Best Buy, I would move on over to the chat window that's on Zoom and plug in that information once again. Okay. Now I'm going to stop sharing, and with that, I'm going to pass the ball back to you, Michael, unless there are any questions or any insights, comments that people would like to share. Oh, can't hear you.
First of all, thank you very much, Patrick. That was, like I said, very, very useful. And I was really impressed by just how things were laid out. So let's open up the floor to some questions. Anybody have any questions or comments for Patrick?
Okay, Bueller. James, you're smiling. What's going on?
I love the Bueller reference. My wife and I watched the movie again together a couple weeks ago.
Okay, but hopefully this this venue we're not going to refer to Bueller anymore.
Right? Yeah. No. This is good stuff.
Yeah. Now, do you have quite a few? Are you pretty active on LinkedIn?
Getting there. I'm not to 500 yet, but definitely getting there.
Yeah. You'll get there.
Yep.
So again, that is a network that you can leverage to help others.
Mm-hmm.
Make the connections again, because it's a give and take.
Yep. And I've done that a little bit. You know, when opportunities have come up. You know, somebody last week asked to be introduced to someone at Anderson Windows, and I was able to affect that. So that was a good thing.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
I have a question. This is kind of an etiquette question, but if I was introducing, like just to give you an example, I met somebody at 3M last week, and I'm like, oh, you should meet somebody that I know at my company who I know much better. So when I'm sending that invite in, message to the two of them to say, here, I'm introducing you, is there a special way that I introduce one before the other, or doesn't it matter? You know what I mean? Does anybody know if there's an etiquette way to do that?
Sheila, I'm not the expert on this, but I'm going to say I've done that many times just because there's a common ground. And if you put them on the same message and then whether it's an email or on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
I would say, hey, I just couldn't help, but you two have such synergy that you just don't know about yet because you're interested in this specific specific space, and you two could actually create something together, or engage in some meaningful discussions about that. And and then just say, now that I've made this introduction, feel free to leave me off any future connections, but I'm putting this in your hands and I'm backing out. Or if you need to stay there and facilitate a potential meeting, say, I'm going to offer setting up a group meeting for the three of us on Zoom, if that's what you feel would be a better approach. That way you can kind of help that introduction and facilitate it a little better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Patrick.
Sheila, every email or LinkedIn message that somebody has used to connect me to, if you will, the target,
Yeah.
they have communicated with that person first. Hey Bob, been a long time since, it's been a little while since we talked. Hope you and the family are doing well. I'd like to introduce you to Jamie Fisher, and then we'll tell a little bit about me, and then do that last statement like Patrick said. I'll leave it to the two of you to finish your connecting. And what I've done in those cases, usually replied to both and said thank you to both, and then suggested to the person I'm connecting with, the best way for us to go forward.
Great comment.
Yeah, thanks, Jane.
All right. Well, Michael, is it time to move on to the next part of the meeting? I don't hear any other questions coming up.
I think so. So again, thank you very much, Patrick. At this point, I'm going to stop the recording. So we'll wrap that part up. And